Elon Musk chooses a black homeless man among 74 millionaires and leaves Donald Trump shocked. The room was dripping with gold and champagne, a sea of tailored suits, diamond-studded watches, and whispers louder than the clinking glasses. This was the kind of fundraiser where billionaires flaunt power like kings at a secret feast. The giant ballroom pulsed with tension and ego, every eye glued to the man who owned the moment, Elon Musk. But nobody expected what came next. Out of the glittering crowd, Elon stepped forward, his face calm, nearly unreadable. Then, with a voice that cut through the chatter, he announced his special guest for the night, Sam, a black homeless man. The room froze. 74 millionaires stared in disbelief. Some jaws dropped. Others gasped, eyes narrowing, like Musk just threw a grenade into this gathering of untouchables. Sam wasn't just anyone. Years ago, he was a tech wizard, brain lighting up silicon codes like fireflies on a summer night. Now, dirt-stained clothes hung off his thin frame, hands shaking from cold and hunger. Yet tonight, glowing under the chandelier light, something raw flickered in his eyes. A chance. Maybe even hope. Across the room, that flicker ignited a storm. Donald Trump's face morphed from arrogant smirk to something tight and angry. His nostrils flared. Musk's choice wasn't just a wild card, it was a slap. Trump saw red. To him, Sam was a threat, a crack in the perfect facade. He whispered to his closest allies, pulling up shadows from Sam's past like daggers, old secrets buried deep, meant to destroy whatever fragile chance this evening held. Sam felt the sting of those eyes, the weight of whispers curling around him like smoke. His chest tightened. Every step toward Musk felt like walking deeper into a trap, yet something, aching and stubborn, drove him forward. He wasn't just some charity case. Not tonight. But then the room's polished surface cracked wider than anyone realized. As Sam looked closer, behind the velvet curtains and polished speeches, a darker truth whispered. Hidden deals, backroom bribes, twisted loyalties, tangled with the lights and laughter. This night wasn't just about raising money. It was a battlefield for power. And maybe, just maybe, Sam was pulled into a game far bigger than he ever imagined. Old friends turned cold, strangers. Smiles curdled into sharp knives. The past wasn't done with Sam. It clawed back, dragging dirt into the spotlight. He had to choose. Give in to the pain that nearly destroyed him, or fight. Fight for something no one here thought was possible. Dignity, hope. And it wasn't just about him anymore. The eyes of the forgotten, the silenced, the crushed beneath wealth's weight, all seemed to focus on him. One man, a silent battle in a roaring room, standing between the old world and a chance at something new. The air crackled. The crowd ate. Was he a master of his own fate, or just another pawn? The question dangled like a blade, sharp, ready to fall. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Sam stood at the edge of a chasm, fear coursing through him like electricity. The whispers swirled, the crowd held its breath. He could feel the weight of their judgment, the fire in Trump's glare, slicing through the glitz and glamour. Then it happened. A loud crash echoed. The ballroom door burst open, slamming hard against the wall. All eyes turned. A figure stumbled in, wild-eyed and frazzled, dressed in tattered jeans and a dirty hoodie. It was Jake, Sam's long-lost brother. Every ounce of stability in the room snapped like a fragile twig. "Sam!" Jake shouted, his voice hoarse, panic straining it. "You have to run! They're coming for you!" Confusion rippled through the crowd, but Sam felt his heart drop. Memories rushed back. They had been inseparable once. Two kids against the world, until the world tore them apart. "Jake, what are you doing here? It's not safe. They've been watching you." Jake stumbled forward, eyes darting, breath shaky and laden with fear. The air thickened with unease, a storm brewing just above the laughs and chatter. Elon looked stunned, face paling, realizing the impact of this chaotic intrusion. "What are you talking about?" But Jake wasn't listening. He pressed on. "They know you're here. They know everything. The secrets." Jake's voice quivered like a fraying rope, ready to snap. "You need to trust me, Sam. It's about Mom, about Dad." The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs. Trump's jaw tightened, and people surged back, eyes darting between Jake and Sam, confusion morphing into fear, and fear into suspicion. Something deep within Sam twisted. Memories of home, chaotic, broken, flooded his mind. His mother's cries, his dad's anger. "Jake, stop!" Sam cried out, his heart pounding. "I thought you were gone." "No!" Jake yelled, desperate now. "I was trying to protect you. You have no idea what's at stake." He turned to the crowd, his wild gaze accusing. "They all know. They're just pretending. There are strings, lies, twisted games." The ballroom shifted on its axis. Wealthy socialites, once so untouchable, now wore expressions that fluctuated between annoyance and fear. Musk's brows furrowed, and Trump's face was thunder. This wasn't part of the plan. Was Sam the pawn in a game he didn't know he was playing? "I don't know what you're talking about." Sam's voice softened, trembling on the edge of disbelief. "What secrets?" Jake's hand shot out, gripping Sam's wrist like a vice. "Our father didn't just lose power. He was betrayed. This isn't just about you. It's about them." He glanced warily around the room, lowering his voice. They had to silence him. And now they want you too. The horror washed over Sam. A web of deceit tangled around them, reaching into the corners of his life he thought safe. Was he a target? Was this why he had fallen so far? With every passing heartbeat, tension vibrated through the room. What if it was all true? Sam's heart raced as voices continued to whisper, doubts creeping in like shadows, twisting his insides. He looked around at the faces staring back at him. Some wore masks of feigned concern, while others were painted with lethal intent. Sam felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Sam!" Jake shouted, pulling him closer. "They need you to be a puppet. Fight back." In that moment, everything shifted. The game was no longer just about money and power. It was about survival. The notification of doom hung heavy in the air as a cacophony of emotions washed over him. Sam stood frozen, torn between loyalty and the fear of a past that could consume him. The question now loomed larger than ever. Was he ready to reclaim his life? Or was he simply a part of the twisted game? As the room spun, darkness and light collided. The truth flickered, a sharp blade of reality poised to fall or transform, leaving no way out. Sam stood there, adrenaline pounding in his chest, the air thick with unspoken conflict. Every eye on him felt like a spotlight, burning, waiting. He took a breath, grounding himself. This was his moment. But then, everything shifted. A shattering crash echoed through the ballroom. Glass chandeliers trembled, and the elegance shattered like fine china. The crowd gasped and turned as the grand double doors blasted open. Two uniformed officers stormed in, faces taut, breathless. The room fell silent. Attendees exchanged anxious glances, confusion rippling through the sea of wealth. "Where is Samuel Green?" one officer barked, voice sharp, slicing through the tension. All eyes flicked to Sam. The name rang like church bells, beautiful and terrible. "I'm Sam." His voice cracked, uncertainty swirling as he stepped forward. Suddenly, a woman rushed into the room behind the officers. She was wild-eyed, hair disheveled, clothes fraying at the edges. "No, you can't take him, please!" She lunged forward, desperation etching an anguished line across her face. "Ma'am, stand back," one officer commanded. The woman's hands trembled as she stumbled, nearly collapsing against a table. The crowd whispered, breaths held tight. A pillar of power wobbling, a kingdom at risk. "Who is she?" someone whispered from the back. "What's happening?" The officer ignored the questions, pressing forward. "Samuel Green, you are under arrest for theft and suspicion of conspiracy." "What?" Sam felt as if the ground had split open beneath him. "What? No, you've got it wrong!" His voice surged, but he was drowning in the eyes fixated on him. The glimmering watches and designer suits now felt like chains pulling him down. "Sir, we have evidence. I was framed." Sam's heart raced. The memories flooded back. Dark nights in the alley. Whispers of danger creeping in when he thought he'd finally found a way up. It was too much. His past crashing in like a tidal wave. "Evidence from your so-called friends," the officer continued, slicing through Sam's panic. "They turned. You're not what you think, Sam. We know about the deals, the money that went missing." The room buzzed. Muffled cries of disbelief echoed. Even Musk, usually so composed, looked rattled. The golden crowd, so polished, now exuded fear. "This isn't a joke, is it?" someone murmured, face paling. The woman screamed. "Sam, tell them! You didn't do anything!" Her voice cracked, echoing the heartbreak of those left behind. But Sam stood frozen, memories twisted in his mind, fingers in the darkness, the ease of being swallowed by the abyss. Real friends? They hadn't been friends at all. Only shadows creeping closer when desperation danced in his veins. Then, a voice broke through the turmoil. "Musk knows," it whispered from the back, sending shivers through the room. They're connected. The eyes swung back to Musk, the aura of power shrouded beneath layers of uncertainty. Had he truly picked Sam out of pity? Or did he use Sam as a pawn in a game that none of them understood? Sam's breath quickened. This was no longer just his fight. This was a reckoning. He stared at Musk, desperation blending with rage. Was this a trap? The air crackled anew. A hard choice loomed. Was his past really chasing him? Or had he unknowingly walked into a web spun long ago? Doubts clawed at him, relentless and fierce, dragging him down like a lead weight. Do you see it now? The officer stepped forward, eyes locked onto Sam. You have to answer for what you've done. And just like that, everything spiraled faster. As the room's laughter died, so did the facade of glamour. The shadows loomed closer, gripping tighter. It was time to fight or be consumed. Sam gritted his teeth, heart pounding like a war drum. This wasn't just his battle anymore. It was a call to arms. The silence slipped like water as he faced the crowd, fear burning bright behind his eyes. Could he tell them the truth, or would the truth destroy him? The storm of what was and what could be pushed him onward, a sudden chasm of possibility yawning wide. Let's find out what really happened, he breathed, voice trembling, yet fierce. The room leaned in, breaths caught, every one of them held captive by the tumult waiting to explode. Sam felt the weight of the entire room as he opened his mouth to speak. Let's find out what really happened! But before he could finish, a deafening roar erupted from the back of the ballroom. The doors that had just swung open slammed shut again, rattling the chandeliers above. What now? Someone muttered, the tension thickening in the air. The crowd parted. Another figure was crashing in. This time not just wild-eyed, but cloaked in a heavy black coat, a hood pulled low over their Get out of here, the person shouted, voice strained. It was a woman, her eyes ablaze with urgency. They're coming for you, Sam. You need to run. There's no time. The officer stepped forward. Disbelief painted across his face. Ma'am, stand back, he shouted, hand hovering near his holstered weapon. No, you don't understand. The woman flung back her hood, revealing a face that sent an icy chill through Sam. It was Amanda, his childhood friend. But this wasn't the girl he remembered. She looked battered and worn, like she had been running from something terrifying. They found out everything. I can't let them take you. Confusion morphed into panic. Sam felt a tightness in his chest. Amanda? What are you doing here? You shouldn't— Sam, she interrupted, her voice cracking. Don't you see? It's not just you. They've been watching our whole family all these years. They took Mom and Dad. If you stay, you're next. The crowd gasped. Trump's face was a picture of fury, fists clenched as eyes darted between Sam and Amanda. What family? Sam asked, the questions tumbling free, each straining against the silence. What do you mean? She took a breath, steadying herself for the storm. Our parents, they were involved in something big, something dangerous. They uncovered a conspiracy that— Enough, the officer barked, stepping in closer, clearly losing patience. You're both under arrest. No! Sam's voice shuddered the noise, fighting back against the tide of panic. I'm not going anywhere. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the ballroom into moments of darkness and chaos. Gasps echoed. A scream pierced through, a shriek of panic that cut through the tension like a knife. When the lights blinked back, a figure stood at the doorway. No one saw them until a sharp sound rang out, echoing, metallic, and chilling. "Stop!" The voice was brisk, commanding. It belonged to a man in a suit, face obscured by shadows, but radiating authority. He held up a badge. "FBI, step back from the suspects." The room erupted. A storm of whispers, fear, confusion. Who were these people? What was going on? The collective breath held in the gilded space seemed to shatter. At that moment, Amanda grabbed Sam's arm and pulled him close, breathless. "We're running. Now!" Everything froze. Sam felt the ground shift beneath him, the weight of past secrets clawing their way to the surface. "I thought you were gone forever," he murmured, fear and hope mingling in his throat. "And I thought you were safe." She locked eyes with him, a flicker of something deeper, something they had both feared to acknowledge for too long. "But that was before I knew the truth." Then, a rattle of gunfire erupted outside, piercing through the trembling walls of their delicate world. The officers and attendees ducked, panic rippling like a shockwave. "Sam, we have to go, now!" Amanda tugged harder, desperation flaring in her voice. The dance of shadows, lies, and forgotten truths spun around them. Just as Sam's heart pounded with a myriad of choices, everything within him screamed to run. Yet a chilling realization dawned. "Wait, you know what they want?" His voice took on a tremor, horror coloring his thoughts. "Why are they after me?" Amanda's eyes darkened. "Because you're not just a pawn, you're the key." The meaning hung heavy between them, a question that skyrocketed through the tension. What truth did she hold? What had they both unknowingly stumbled into? And as the chaos swirled, with the sound of sirens racing closer, a new breeze of danger filled the air, like the calm before a storm. Sam's breath caught, uncertainty twisting within. How deep did this rabbit hole go? The room hung in silence. Every breath felt like a weight, every heartbeat like a countdown. Sam stood there, teetering on the edge of an unknown abyss, when suddenly the hum of muffled voices in the background shattered like glass. A loud crash echoed through the ballroom, and the sparkling lights flickered for a moment. All eyes shifted toward the source of the commotion. A figure had stumbled into the room, wild-eyed and disheveled, breaking through the polished exterior of wealth and power. It was Eric, Sam's estranged brother. The brother who had vanished years ago, swallowed by shadows of his own making. And yet, here he was, breathless, carrying secrets that hung in the air like smoke. "Sam!" Eric shouted, his voice raw and frantic. "You need to know!" The tension in the room. Trump barked, his voice booming. The casual chatter silenced further, leaving a suffocating hush. But Eric didn't waver. He stepped forward, fists trembling at his sides, eyes locked on Sam. The old connection sparked, a thread of unbreakable bond woven through years of silence. "Listen, this isn't about you or me anymore. It's about the truth." Eric's declaration echoed, potent and cutting. Sam's heart raced. Fear and hope collided within him. Had he come to save him? To ruin him? "What truth?" Sam asked, voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "About Mom and the money, the tech we built together. It's bigger than you think," Eric continued, his urgency palpable. "It's all a lie, a big, fat lie designed to keep you quiet." The crowd surged with murmurs, whispers curling like smoke. Sam's throat tightened. This was not what he expected tonight. Eric's words were daggers drawn from shadows, and the heavy weight of revelation fell upon him. Elon watched closely, intrigued but wary, his posture shifting as he sensed the undercurrents swirling. Eric leaned in, desperation etched on his face. "They're coming for you, Sam. You've been targeted ever since you were a kid. It's all connected. The failures, the struggles, it's never been just bad luck." The room gasped, 74 millionaires processing this running betrayal together. Was it true? Was it orchestrated? The air crackled with shock and anger. With a suddenness that stunned everyone, a scream erupted from somewhere in the back. "What's happening?" a woman shouted. "Who are you? What do you mean?" "Sam, you need to decide who you really are," Eric pressed, voice tense and fierce. "This is your moment. Fight for the truth, or fall like the rest of them." The room shifted again, a tide of anger and fear rising. Trump turned, veins pulsing as he pointed an accusing finger at Eric. "Get him out of here, now, before this ruins everything." But the simpler chaos unfolded. Sam stood, torn between loyalty and indignation. The mask of his old life was cracking, allowing the bitter truth to seep in. Once again, he was caught between worlds, his brother's desperate plea and the lavish pretensions surrounding him. Eric's gaze held a flicker of hope, a call to arms. Sam was left with the weight of everything he had ever known, the space around him buzzing with unfiltered possibility. The room was a battleground. What was at stake weighed heavier than anyone realized. Would he fight? Or was he destined to remain a pawn in someone else's game? The question lingered, sharp as a blade, ready to cut through the night's illusion. And there, in that moment of decision, the world teetered. Sam stood at the edge, heart racing, the weight of the room pressing down like a lead blanket. Millions watched him. More than just dollar signs, more than a night of glitz and glamour. He could feel a million eyes digging into him like needles. The murmurs were relentless, a wave of judgment and curiosity. Then, something unexpected happened. The ballroom's grand doors swung open, crashing against the wall. A man burst inside, his face wild, eyes blazing like a storm. It was Khalil, a face from Sam's past, someone who once meant the world to him. Khalil had been the brilliant mind behind Sam's greatest successes. A partner in every innovation, every dream. But life had torn them apart, and now here he was, dirty and frantic. "Sam, we need to talk, now." Khalil yelled, his voice cutting through the upscale chatter like a knife. Everyone turned. Conversations dropped. Musk, Trump, the millionaires, they all stared. Sam felt his stomach twist. Why now? Why here? Khalil stumbled closer, breathless, wild-eyed. "They're coming for you. They've been planning this. This whole thing is a trap." The air grew cold. Sam's heart skipped a beat. The room was a stage, and he was in the spotlight. He glanced at Musk, who wore a mask of calm, but Sam could see the tension cranking up in his shoulders. "Who's coming?" Sam asked, voice steady, but inside he was falling. Khalil shot a look over his shoulder, slow and deliberate, like a deer sensing the hunter. "They know about the tech you've been developing, Sam. They want to silence anyone who has the power to expose them. Big money involved. Huge. Whispers erupted. Shock painted the faces of the elite crowd. Sam went numb, absorbing every word. What had Sam gotten into? Was he a pawn in a game far bigger than he realized? Then the whispers turned louder. Is that the tech guy? Some millionaire leaned in closer to catch the gossip. Others exchanged hurried glances, faces a mix of intrigue and fear. Khalil stepped closer, his voice low. They've already threatened me. I barely got away. He paused, looking into Sam's eyes. Desperation. You're in danger. Sam's mind raced. The memories of the secrets they'd uncovered flashed before him. Scandals tied to opulent names. Police turned away with fat envelopes, their discoveries nearly buried. It was more than tech. It was corruption, a dark underbelly of greed. Could it really be connected to this night? Musk stepped back, eyes narrowing, focusing on Khalil. This isn't the time for theatrics. But even he wavered, the energy in the room shifting, and then everything erupted. The ballroom exploded in chaos. A loud crash echoed from the back, followed by screams. The chandeliers rattled like thunder, glasses shattering on the floor. Security rushed in, panic ensued. Trump cursed under his breath, eyes darting, searching for escapes. But Sam? He was frozen, staring at Khalil. Petreo y traste twisten asiento en cocoteado piel. Was his old friend here to save him, or just to lead him further into the storm? Sam! Khalil shouted, breaking through the noise. We need to leave, now! Suddenly, everything was unclear. Allies became foes. Past friendships felt like chains. Sam's world spun. In a ballroom filled with golden promises, he stood on the brink of darkness. With the noise of chaos tearing through the hall, time slowed to a crawl. Was he a savior or a pawn? As the storm loomed, a single choice now sat heavy on his shoulders. Follow Khalil into the unknown, or stay among the glittering faces that suddenly felt foreign, hostile. The decision lingered, sharp as glass, and then the choice was gone. A figure appeared in the shadows, a face Sam never expected to see. One that could change everything. Everything mattered. Survival, truth, identity. And just as quickly, it all fell into question. Sam stood at the edge of an abyss, past and future colliding like thunder in a storm. The tension hummed in his veins. Every eye was on him, a mix of disbelief and disdain. He felt the weight of judgment in the air, a heavy mantle pressing down on his shoulders. Was he ready for this? But then it happened. A deafening crash broke the silence, rattling the chandeliers above. The grand double doors flung open, and in stormed a figure wrapped in shadows. A woman, wild hair cascading over her shoulders, breathless and frantic. Her eyes, fierce and haunted, locked onto Sam. "Sam!" she shouted, voice cracking, slicing through the air like a knife. Gasps echoed around the room, a mix of shock and confusion rippling through the crowd. Who was she? The millionaires turned, their murmurs blending into a chaotic symphony. Sam's heart raced. He knew this woman. She was Trisha, his sister, the one he thought he lost forever. "Get out! You need to leave!" she screamed, desperation threading through her words. Sam was frozen. Everyone else was stumbling back, hands covering mouths, eyes wide. Why was Trisha here? And why was she panicking? Trisha, what are you talking about? Sam dared to ask, his voice barely a whisper, filled with confusion. Just listen! They're coming for you! You have to! Then, without warning, another noise erupted. The front of the ballroom shuddered, like an earthquake shaking the foundations. The crowd turned, their expressions morphing into fear and disbelief. A group of men in dark suits stormed in, their faces hard as stones, eyes scanning the room like hawks. They were enforcers, the kind that chased shadows and silenced voices. Sam, you have to run. Trisha's voice was a desperate plea now, filled with raw panic. Instinct kicked in. Sam felt the pulse of life all around him, his chance slipping through his fingers like sand. He darted forward, moving toward Trisha, but before he could reach her, time seemed to slow. One of the men stepped forward, seizing Trisha's arm with a grip like iron. "Who sent you?" he growled. A gasp erupted from the crowd, eyes widening as the scene unfolded. Sam's heart lurched. No, this couldn't be happening. Anger flared inside him. "Let her go!" he shouted, voice shaking, but loud enough to cut through the tension. The man's eyes flickered toward Sam, then back to Trisha. "You're in over your head, kid. You don't want to mess with us." But Trisha wasn't backing down. "He has to know. You're not just here for the money. They want to destroy him." Her voice rose, echoing in the room, anger mingling with fear. Confusion rippled through the crowd, whispers punctuating the air. Sam felt the gravity of her words sinking in, anchoring his fear in reality. Everything was crashing down. The millionaires were no longer mere spectators. They were complicit in a system that thrived on silence and subjugation. Suddenly, Sam's world flipped upside down. He wasn't just a homeless man with a past. He was caught in a web, entangled with forces much larger than himself. A pawn in a deadly game. The man holding Trisha grinned, a malicious glint in his eyes. "No one gets to leave until we settle this," he warned, and Sam realized the room had turned hostile. A battlefield cloaked in suits and discretions. Sam's heart thundered in his chest. Could he fight? Fight against not only these men, but the life that had pushed him down? He looked at Trisha and saw the fear etched in her face. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about family, about survival, about hope. And then, in that dark, spiraling moment, a truth slipped from the shadows. Trisha was hiding something. The way she clung to that secret felt like a ticking time bomb, threatening to explode. What had she dragged into the open? "Sam, trust me!" she shouted, but he could feel the distance growing, an invisible wall between them. As the tension unfurled and secrets loomed heavy, one question burned bright in the chaos. What had he stepped into? The air around them crackled, full of shadows and unspoken words, leaving the future wide open, dangerous, uncertain, and waiting to be written. Sam stood at the edge of an abyss, past and future colliding like thunder in a storm. The tension hummed in his veins. Every eye was on him, a mix of disbelief and disdain. He felt the weight of judgment in the air, a heavy mantle pressing down on his shoulders. Was he ready for this? But then it happened. A deafening crash broke the silence, rattling the chandeliers above. The grand double doors flung open, and in stormed a figure wrapped in shadows, a woman, wild hair cascading over her shoulders, breathless and frantic, her eyes, fierce and haunted, locked onto Sam. "Sam!" she shouted, voice cracking, slicing through the air like a knife. Gasps echoed around the room, a mix of shock and confusion rippling through the crowd. Get out! You need to leave!" she screamed, desperation threading through her words. Sam was frozen. Everyone else was stumbling back, hands covering mouths, eyes wide. Why was Trisha here? And why was she panicking? "Trisha, what are you talking about?" Sam dared to ask, his voice barely a whisper, filled with confusion. "Just listen. They're coming for you. You have to—" Then, without warning, another noise erupted. The front of the ballroom shuddered like an earthquake, shaking the foundations. The crowd turned, their expressions morphing into fear and disbelief. A group of men in dark suits stormed in, their faces hard as stones, eyes scanning the room like hawks. They were enforcers, the kind that chased shadows and silenced voices. "Sam, you have to run!" Trisha's voice was a desperate plea now, filled with raw panic. Instinct kicked in. Sam felt the pulse of life all around him, his chance slipping through his fingers like sand. He darted forward, moving toward Trisha. But before he could reach her, time seemed to slow. One of the men stepped forward, seizing Trisha's arm with a grip like iron. "Who sent you?" he growled. A gasp erupted from the crowd, eyes widening as the scene unfolded. Sam's heart lurched. "No, this couldn't be happening. ... Anger flared inside him. "Let her go!" he shouted, voice shaking but loud enough to cut through the tension. The man's eyes flickered toward Sam, then back to Trisha. "You're in over your head, kid. You don't want to mess with us." But Trisha wasn't backing down. "He has to know. You're not just here for the money. They want to destroy him." Her voice rose, echoing in the room, anger mingling with fear. Confusion rippled through the crowd, whispers punctuating the air. Sam felt the gravity of her words sinking in, anchoring his fear in reality. Everything was crashing down. The millionaires were no longer mere spectators. They were complicit in a system that thrived on silence and subjugation. Suddenly, Sam felt a surge of energy rise up in the room. The tension felt like a living entity pressing closer. Then, something changed. A figure stepped out from behind the enforcers, a familiar face that sent shockwaves through Sam's being. It was Eric, his brother, the one who had vanished, leaving Sam to navigate the chaos alone. "Surprise! You didn't expect to see me, did you?" Eric's voice dripped with sarcasm. "You should know better than to think you could escape this family's mess. What are you doing here?" Sam's heart sank. This wasn't right. This was a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. "I'm the reason they're here, because of what you did." Eric laughed, a cold, haunting sound. "Did you really think you could take the tech and run? We're all as much a part of this as the money." Sam felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything he thought he knew about his family, about his life, collapsed in a cacophony of betrayal. The truth clawed its way to the surface. "You!" But before he could finish, a deafening explosion tore through the ballroom, shaking the very foundation. The walls echoed with shattering glass and screams. A smoke-filled cloud erupted around them, obscuring vision, bathing the glittering hall in chaos. As the crowd scattered, Sam stumbled back, caught between Eric's mocking gaze and the chaos swirling around him. "Did you really think you could escape, brother? We were never meant to." And just like that, the world spun. Was Eric the enemy? Were they all in on it? The shadows danced between truth and deception, leaving Sam gasping for clarity. The choice laid bare before him now, a path soaked in betrayal, where hope dimmed like the fading light. The storm had just begun. The chaos erupted like a storm. Sam felt the walls closing in, panic swirling, as he watched that familiar figure of his brother, Eric, taunting him with cold laughter. The smoke thickened, hiding everyone's faces, like ghosts trapped in a nightmare. And just when Sam thought he might drown in that pit of despair, "Sam!" Trisha yelled, pulling him back from the edge of confusion. "You need to listen!" But then, the unexpected happened. A blaring siren wailed through the ballroom, cutting through the tension like a knife. Flashing lights pierced the smoky haze, and with a sudden kick, the giant double doors swung open wide again. A group of armed officers rushed in, their uniforms crisp against the chaos, eyes scanning for threats. Sam's heart raced. Relief or fear? It was hard to breathe. "Get down!" one officer shouted, and a panic surge rippled through the crowd. Cries of surprise erupted. The millionaires ducked behind tables, pearls scattered across the floor, watches gleaming under the flickering lights. "Sam Green, you're under arrest!" another officer bellowed, locking eyes with him. The weight of those words hit like a punch to the gut, but just then there was another sound. A loud crash behind the officers, a new wave of chaos spinning into the room. The crowd parted once more, gasping. A woman, tall and defiant, stepped through the fray, drenched in fear but radiating strength. "Stop! You can't!" she cried, voice booming. It was Olivia, their mother. Sam could barely recognize her. Her passionate presence filled the room, demanding attention like a beacon cutting through darkness. "Mom?" His voice trembled, shock flooding his system. Here she was, after all these years. "Don't take him," Olivia shouted, eyes blazing. "You don't understand what's at stake." The officers hesitated, taken aback by her fierce resolve. Sam was frozen, caught in a whirlwind of shock and disbelief. Questions exploded in his mind. How was she here? What danger loomed? The tension warped. Incredulity replaced fear. And before anyone could move, Eric stepped out from behind the officers, smearing. "Nice to see you, Mom. Wouldn't you rather stay hidden?" A chill swept over Sam. What did he mean? "Shut up, Eric!" Olivia snapped, fire in her voice. "This isn't about you." But then, the world shifted. Eric's eyes narrowed, and suddenly, the truth shattered like glass. "You think they're here for Sam? No, Mom. They want you, because you're the one with the secrets." A collective gasp rippled through the room, eyes darting back and forth. Sam's heart sank. Secrets? What were they talking about? "You've been hiding everything," Eric shot back. "The money, the tech. You knew, and you let him take the fall." That's when Olivia's face crumpled, twisting with revelation. "I never meant for any of this. I thought I was protecting you both." The reality resounded, her desperation intertwined with betrayal. Sam couldn't breathe. The open wound of his past throbbed with every heartbeat. Did she hide the truth from them all these years? Just as it seemed everything would explode, Olivia raised her hand, voice steady. "What I did was to protect you, but it made it worse. The lies piled up. I was trying to keep you safe from them." The room fell deadly silent, the weight of old secrets pressing down on Sam like a heavy cloak. "You mean you were in on it? All along?" he whispered, rage and hurt twisting together inside him. "You let this happen?" Heat swirled, and with his next breath, the world tipped on its axis. Eric smirked, delight in his eyes. "You never stood a chance, Sam. This whole night, it was never about you. You think you were just a homeless guy? But you're part of something far bigger, something you still don't understand." As Olivia's gaze fell to the floor, Sam felt the walls of his world tilt. Could everything he knew unspool in one night? One confession? The sirens wailed louder, drowning out thoughts. As chaos reigned, he realized nothing was as it seemed. The boundaries of family had twisted into betrayal. The darker truth loomed, threatening to consume everything. "Sam!" Trisha's voice broke through again, desperate and urgent. "We need to figure this out. We can't let it end like this." And with those words, the storm began anew, leaving Sam wondering just how deep the rabbit hole went and who he could trust in the unraveling madness. As the chaos subsided, Sam felt his heart racing with a blaze of fierce confusion. The air was electric. Every breath was thick with uncertainty. Trisha stood firm, her eyes locked onto his, pleading for him to understand. "We need to trust each other, Sam. We can't let them win." But Eric laughed, a chilling sound that hung in the smoky haze. "You still don't see it, do you? This world we live in, the connections, the secrets, you're just a part of it, a pawn." He turned to the officers, a sly smile creeping onto his face. "Maybe you didn't realize how deep the roots run." "You're wrong!" Sam shot back, anger surging through him. "This isn't about power or money. It's about family. It's about doing the right thing." In that moment, Olivia stepped forward, her voice breaking through the tension like glass shattering. "Enough!" she yelled, grounding them all in reality. "You think this is my fault?" Her gaze pierced through Eric, the raw emotion bubbling beneath the surface. "I did what I thought was best for you both. I did what I had to do to protect us. I never meant for it to turn out this way." The officers hesitated, sensing the turmoil unfold before them. But Sam wasn't done. He felt the swell of hope pushing against his doubts. "No more lies. We face this together. Whatever the truth is, we face it." The room was silent for a heartbeat, tension swirling like a frozen lake about to crack. But just like that, everything shifted again. Eric's smirk faded. The enforcers turned slightly anxious. "Time to make a choice, Sam," Trisha said, urgency digging into each word. "Stick with us, or let them dictate your fate." For a brief second, Sam could see it all. The murky depths of his past, tangled with secrets. He wasn't just a discarded pawn. He could forge his own path. "Together," Sam breathed, each word pulsing with finality. The collective force of those surrounding him surged, a quiet resolve igniting hope. But as they gathered strength, the doors exploded open once more. Light flooded the room. revealing shimmering shadows from the other side. And there, standing framed in the chaos, was a duo of heavy-set figures. A pair of agents, grim-faced and unwavering. "Everyone, stay where you are," one shouted, authoritative and piercing. Fear washed over the crowd again. "We're taking this man into custody," the other declared, fixated on Sam. "He's involved in an extensive investigation. No more games." "Stop!" Olivia stepped in front of Sam, fury and desperation clawing at her throat. "We're done running." Suddenly the weight of every truth threatened to spill over. The enforcers, the officers, everything was shifting. Sam felt the pull of secrets, his family's history, all exploding into the open. "Then let's end this," Sam shouted, galvanizing the group. "Bring the truth to light." "Sam, wait!" Trisha reached for him, panic flashing in her eyes. But it was too late. The truth, a force darker than the lies they lived in, had burst into the light. "What's going on?" an officer called, as shadows flickered in the corners of the ballroom, revealing deeper implications than they ever understood. As tension and dread warped into chaos, the room erupted into shouts and screams. Countless lives expanding and collapsing into an unknown universe. And just then, Sam felt it. The unmistakable spark of change. The world was no longer just a game. It was real, and together they could fight. The fates of families intertwined. Truth battled deception as they stood united on a perilous precipice. But before anything else could be decided, a jagged crack echoed throughout the room, silencing every frantic heartbeat. And then the ground trembled beneath them. Would they conquer the shadows of their past? Or would they be swallowed whole? The uncertainty loomed large, a nameless suspense settling thick in the air, hovering just above where hope and fear collided. Now the question hung heavy. Was it too late to reclaim their fates? This is where their story converged, but it was far from finished. You have to subscribe now. Don't let this mystery slip away. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm and show your support. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. You need to let your voice be heard. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. This is the moment. Let's keep this incredible community growing.